I bet you guys didn't know that you have to wear sunglasses to be on our podcast now.
It's a ritual.
I also didn't know that. For reference, I also thought that I was just wearing these to be festive because they were holiday festive, and then I was being funny, and then I pulled them out, and then Amanda had these, I don't even know what you call those, cat eye sunglasses.
I don't. They're
like
party sunglasses.
70s hearts at best. I'll give you that.
This is what you get when you go to a bachelorette party.
Oh, leftovers from the bachelorette party. Anyway, what's up, guys? It's Mike Frank with Frank Oliver Collective of EXP Realty, here with my lovely fiance, Amanda, as Ralph says. Amanda. We are Christianless, as he is traveling the world with the Grateful Dead. In case you guys don't know already, Christian is a Grateful Dead head, which is a little weird of a term to me, but it's going to end after this year, thank God. No more traveling. There's no more concerts. So he's going to like 7. He was at 1.
They will.
We had this conversation last week. He's like, no, for real, they're done. So he was at 1 3 weeks ago. Then he went to 1 last weekend. Now he comes home tomorrow. And then he leaves on Wednesday to go to Seattle. So he's like flying from Colorado to Maryland to Seattle. He's a crazy person.
I mean, you like what you like.
He's committed is what it is. Anyway, so we were talking a little bit about renting versus owning. And today is a wonderful time to talk about renting versus owning with my beautiful fiance, as she is considering buying another property. We are considering buying another property. Anyway, so what made you buy your first house? Let's ask that.
Oh, I don't know if you want to get that answer.
Why not?
I had to leave DC.
Womp womp.
No,
I don't know the buttons that well.
Oh.
There you go. Anyway, and you bought a property and you invested into it and you put all this money down, and it was such a big hassle and hurdle to overcome and all these things. But now, how much equity would you say that you have in that home?
Probably about $285,000.
$285,000. And is that through pay down, like through your monthly payment?
It is a combination of what I put down, my monthly payment, and the equity that the home has gained.
So like the market growth.
Correct.
And that's where people don't understand. The market growth is actually going to drive your equity more than any other single facet. A wild statistic Liv was pulling up. Liv, can you tell me the net worth of our owner here based on the person that bought the $300,000 house? How long have they owned the property based on 5 years? So 5 years of ownership, and the estimated net worth of this individual, so this is an average, is $243,660 versus the same person that rented for that last 5 years. Their average net worth is $5,100. So the equity growth is actually what's driving your position. It's not actually your monthly payoff or your principal initial investment. It's the equity growth that's going to drive your position. And while we got into an argument with Christian and Heather and everybody last week, the net worth is an average over all homeowners of 5-year equity positions. So remember that there's a lot of homeowners that come into ownership with a better equity position than others. And there's others that will take those next 5 years and invest smartly and wisely in other assets like retirement, secondary properties, and other sorts of investment position, thus growing their net worth. It's a mindset, a mentality of being a first-time homeowner versus being a renter that changes your drive to build your net worth. And that's where I think people don't understand. So let's ask this question. Over the last 4 years that you've owned your house, 2019,
Yep.
right? What other assets, what other investments have you made to build your net worth?
I max out my 401k or TSP for the government people. And I really haven't done much to the house because I haven't had to.
So no improvements, no equity improvements. Okay.
Just personal investments, I would say.
Okay.
And retirement.
Lest we forget the tax deductions that you create by being a homeowner, lest we forget the incentives that you create for things like solar or energy efficient purchases. Something that people miss out on is they miss out on the opportunity to invest in their HVAC unit. So when you're living in a rental, your landlord is investing into the HVAC unit, they can get a $12 or a $15 or $2,000 tax write-off, or just a straight deduction from the expense of the material property, depending on how they purchase it. And you as the tenant are just sitting there like, oh, well, at least I didn't have to pay the $10,000 for the new HVAC unit. It's like you're looking at it all wrong. You're looking at it backwards, right? The asset is worth one thing, the investment is worth something else, and then the tax evaluation and appreciation is worth something else. The other thing that owning a home does is it causes this like forced savings plan.
True.
What do you call that?
Budget.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, you have a lot of people call it their rainy day fund.
Oh, yeah.
Right? You have like a worst case scenario fund. It's like a forced savings plan.
Yeah.
And I think that people don't often realize that when it comes to the forced savings plan, you can use that for something like a vacation or a down payment on a car. It's not just for the house, but it's like the way that your mind works, it rolls the clock back to make sure that we're forced saving rather than just spending every penny that we have because we can, right?
Sure.
And all of this is what's doing the net worth growth, right? I think the other thing that people often forget is that you can do incentive savings, like tax savings and incentive savings, depending on the community that you live in. If you're in a historic community, by doing improvements to the property, you can actually get tax deductions. So an example would be improving a historic property here in local Lutherville could incentivize you by getting tax deductions for making that improvement. So you might be able to get an $18,000 tax deduction for re-siding your cedar shake sided property to keep with the continuity of the historic home. And that re-siding might cost you $40,000, or you might be able to do it yourself for $7,000. And then you're creating opportunities for equity improvement and asset evaluation because you're creating opportunity to save on your taxes. But something that's really interesting just when you think about it is that monthly rental costs, right? What was your rent before you guys were paying a principal balance on a different equity, right? What was that mortgage?
I was not really paying anything.
All right, well, that must be nice. Fancy that. Anyway, for like an average renter in today's market, for anybody that you know or anybody that you're friends with, what would that be?
I think this weekend we were talking to my cousins.
Yeah.
They were saying, so yeah. So we'll say anywhere from 25 to $3,000 maybe.
Let's just use those numbers for simplicity, right? And you might be listening and you might have an $1,100 rent and you might have a $7,000 rent, and that's okay. But the math plays out the same way. So if we're going to take our $3,000, we're going to multiply it by 12. That means we're spending $36,000 a year to live where we live.
Yep. With
no equity appreciation, no principal buy down, and no tax savings. $36,000. If you're at $1,000 a month, that's $12,000. If you're at $5,000 a month, that's $60,000. So any way you look at it, it's a huge amount of money, right? And that $36,000 in their case, they're like, oh, but we can't afford anything in our community, and we just love where we live, so we just stay there and we keep throwing money down the drain. It's like, yeah, but are you guys creating the savings plan that you want?
Right. Are you able to afford the other opportunities in life that you want to?
Right. Like, oh, yeah, well, we're saving for a down payment on a house. I'm like, well, buy quicker. Buy with more opportunity in front of you. Anybody that's listening to this that says, oh, I can't afford to buy, it's like, for what? Like, they'll let you finance a property as low as 580 credit score without any kind of exception. You might be able to get down to 560. So like, how bad is your credit that you can't afford to buy? If you move into a new apartment, it's a $3,000 a month apartment. It's a $1,500 a month apartment. It's a $4,000 a month apartment. They're going to charge you a month plus a security deposit. And oftentimes that's 1 month's rent. So it might be $3,000 for the month. It might be $3,000 security deposit. You just had $6,000. And people say, oh, I don't have enough money to put down. What about the grant programs that are out there? What about the down payment assistance programs that are out there? And for us, we represent Maryland and Pennsylvania, but a lot of grant and down payment assistance programs are for both regions. But I love my neighborhood and I could never afford in my neighborhood. Move to a cheaper neighborhood. Like, I don't have any sympathy for anybody that's like, oh my God. Because in the long run, statistically, you're going to lose, right?
Something else that I don't know if is wildly known, something that I didn't even think of when I was purchasing, was the opportunity to put less than 20% down.
Yeah. And I mean, 3%. Some loan programs are even 0% down.
Right.
And people are living in communities. They're like, I love the community I live in. Like if you move a half mile away, you could put down $0.
And still have more money in your pocket.
$0. There are loan programs for that. And these aren't like the fancy, grants and this, and you have to qualify by going through this class and XYZ. These are just government-backed supported loan programs. 0% down. $700,000 house, $0 down. Right? Like these are opportunities that are out there. There are conventional loans at 3%, conventional loans at 5%, conventional loans at 10%, and everything in between. And they all comes with pluses and minuses, and you might choose to wait a little while you get yourself into a position, and I'm okay with that. But the people that are just like waiting in perpetuity because they can't afford their community, a la your cousins, no sympathy here. They were a really interesting scenario because they're 20 minutes from the Maryland border. They're in Pennsylvania. And there's a program in the state of Maryland that would pay off their student loans $50,000.
Right.
Well, but we love our community. I'm like, yeah, well, live in Maryland for 5 years and then move back to your community with your $50,000 paid off. Right? Like, it's just silly to me.
But these are things that people just have no education on. I mean, and I commend you and the team because I'll hear conversations with clients that will, educate your clients on these opportunities. But for someone that's just looking when they have to buy a house, that knowledge is just not readily available.
Well, and for some of our clients, they're not willing to accept it either. I had a first conversation with somebody the other day, and they were like, we just want a modular home, right? Which is, you have the mobile homes that are on wheels, and then you have modular, which is basically a mobile home on a foundation, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Modular home, just different type of home. So they want a modular home. That's great. Sounds awesome. They want to move in this timeline. Okay, why that timeline? Oh, we just got out of school. Why I just got out of school? Oh, we have student loan debt. Oh, well, there's a student loan forgiveness program. Can we talk about it? Absolutely. 30-minute conversation. Sounds great. Let's set up a follow-up conversation for tomorrow night at this time. And then they just ghost me. It's fine. I mean, like, you're only hurting yourself. I've got tons of other people that I could talk to in that time. But at the same time, you're hurting yourself. And I think my bigger question is, when are renters going to stop hurting themselves with their excuses and find ways to align themselves with the people that they want to become?
I mean, I'm a firm believer that getting the education out there to the folks will help that.
I also agree with that. I think there's one particular family that I can think of that I had a conversation with, and I said, what happens if you don't buy a house? And they said, we just rent. And my response was, in perpetuity? And they said, yeah. And that was kind of the end of our conversation. We continued, we talked for a little while, and that was kind of the end of it. We never really picked up conversation. There wasn't a 4-month plan. There wasn't a year-long conversation later after this lease is up. We just never talked again. Well, fast forward 7 years, and all of their friends have used us to buy a house, and all of their friends have bought and sold at least one property, with the exception of one family who bought one, and they're very happy, right? But this couple just moved to another state, and they're renting again. Think about all the equity that their friends earned. One of them earned $80,000 in equity just in living in their home. Bought it, cleaned it up, painted it, sold it, $80,000 profit. Meanwhile, this couple was just renting in perpetuity. It's like, what is your excuse? Now, there are some people that just don't want it.
Right.
I just talked to Greg yesterday. He's not a real estate investment person. He doesn't get into that. He likes investing in the market. Okay, tell me more about that, because maybe I have something that I can learn about the market, right? But Greg was like hating on real estate. Oh, well, it's just not for me. It's not for this. It's not for that. Dude, there's ways to make this happen. But if it's just not for you, you just don't like it, it's not what you want to invest your money and time in, then great. Move into a $1,200 a month rental and invest all your money in the stock market. Oh, I could never live in that community. I have to have a $3,000 a month rental. Well, now you're losing me a little bit. Now you're taking me down a road that I just don't agree with. It's more like, hey, where's the logic in what you're saying?
Right.
Right? Let's build logic behind it, and I'm okay with it. But if you're just going to throw money away, especially if you listen to people like Grant Cardone, super, super, super successful. So much respect for Grant Cardone. But he will be the first one to tell you, don't own your primary residence, rent. And that's okay. If you want to have 1,200 rental properties and rent a primary residence, I'm down with it. But shy away from having 1,200 rental properties and have one and live in your primary residence. And your primary residence is still going to be the greatest asset that you own. So if you don't have that and you only have one rental, you're not really growing in my world. Grant Cardone can afford to not have that primary residence as his greatest asset. He's got so much else going on. So one can only hope that we can all get to that level. But in lieu of that, tell me a reason why you wouldn't want to buy a home.
I don't personally have a reason.
Right.
I want to.
I mean, to me, it's just like the next step, how you go about it, what you consider, right? So if somebody was going to say to you, Amanda, the non-real estate professional, I want to buy a house, I want to grow some equity, what recommendations do you have?
What type of equity are you looking to grow? Do you want to live in this house yourself? And what is your end goal of like what you're trying to do with your net worth and your portfolio, if you will?
All right. Well, I've never thought about that. Why would I not live in that house?
Because maybe you just have some extra cash and maybe you can offset your other costs, or that you can, buy, rent, and then continuously buy other properties and build your portfolio, if you will.
Okay. I didn't think about that before. So by purchasing property as my non-primary, I could just rent it out, and then I could buy another non-primary rental and then rent that out.
Sure.
Counter argument here. Why would you not just move into it? So here's the argument that I have, right? Buying with an investment loan is great because I'm going to be able to buy, I'm going to pay down a large chunk of principal at the onset, and I'm going to have a tenant paying my mortgage, and I get it. But why would you not buy at a 5% down conventional loan?
You're saying, and then
use that to rent later.
You
and
could
then buy a second property.
You totally could. I think it all depends on what their end goal is. Maybe some people, okay, so take our house search for instance. Mm-hmm. We're specific on where we are, what we want to buy, and how much we want to spend. Mm-hmm. There are certain people that might want to start growing their equity, but they have children at the prime age for school, and what they can afford to buy at that time is not going to be profitable and allow them to put their children in the right schools. So that might be a reason that they can say, hey, we're going to buy this property, we're going to fix it up, we're going to rent it out until we continuously, build our...
So putting their kids into the school district that they can rent in, but buying a property somewhere where they can afford
Correct.
That they could grow equity in. Mm-hmm. That's a great argument. I think a lot of people fail to acknowledge that this is a portfolio that we're building. And I'll use my own investment portfolio. I have no fucking idea about the stock market. It's a lot of a lie, but I don't pay attention to it. It's not where my juices flow. I don't get excited watching AZN stock go up by 1.3 points. Like, that doesn't matter to me, right? So for me, I give it to someone that takes care of my portfolio, and we sit down annually and we talk about it. And she says, hey, this is the direction we're going in. This is where we are. This is where we think we're going to end up. And I always give her a hard time because I'm like, we didn't make enough money. And even if we made money or we lost money, it doesn't matter. She's going to respond by saying, well, but we did. I did. Okay, right. Great. As long as you can reply to the question or make a comment to the question, great. But from my perspective, that's the way that I look at my investment portfolio when it comes to the stock market. That's the way everybody should look at their investment portfolio when it comes to real estate. And big shout out to Liv and Christian. And God damn it, I have to do this tomorrow. We have to make our new equity review mailer. We have been putting out annual equity reviews for our clients for about a year and a half now, give or take. And what we find is that people are really using these as a benchmark for their growth. It's not an indication of your value, but it's more information to help you understand the road that you're traveling. And I think that a lot of people look at real estate as like where I live and not where I invest.
True.
I'm sitting with one of them.
Hello.
Anyway, and I think that especially as a renter that might be considering home ownership, having an equity review might just give them the realization that my equity position in real estate is zero, But when I look at my portfolio across the board, my assets in the bank, my car's worth, my net worth of my personal belongings and my things, as well as my investment portfolio in the stock market, my investments are worth 12,000, 40,000, 170,000, 7 million. Great. Like whatever it might be, but it could be more. You know why? Because you're renting.
Right.
Right. And if you're not taking the opportunity to leverage out real estate, and again, go back to Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone has a huge real estate portfolio. So he's not renting anymore. In my mind, Grant Cardone has a real estate portfolio. He's investing in this space and he's using his profits to live an easier life. Great. I'm about it. But if you have tons, $7 million in the stock market, but zero in real estate, well, you just haven't diversified enough. So like, let's get an equity review out to you. Let's consider your position and let's figure out how we can help you grow your real estate portfolio so that you could start to grow and make your net worth go from, what was it, 5,100? I think it was, sorry, 5,100 to 243,660. And for any of my clients that are listening to this and they want to say, my net worth isn't 243,6660, tell me what it is so we can make it work. We can get you to that position so we can put you in a place that you can grow your family, grow your wealth and your well-being. And you can also live like Grant Cardone when you're 65. Boom, roasted. That's for all of you renters that haven't considered this any further. Anyway, you have any thoughts, miss?
I just think it's tough. I mean, even the conversations we have about buying versus renting versus buying investment properties, it's a thought process. So I'll go from the other side. I'm someone who doesn't live the buying and investing real estate in day to day. So I think it still comes back to the education. And the more that you can educate folks, the more that you've educated me on the opportunities that come out of, you know, continuously purchasing and renting and what you can build from that has truly influenced my thought process.
Well, like I'll use a different like educational piece, right? Close friends, Shane and Marta, bought a property in a town that I've never heard of, North Topsail Beach, North Carolina. And if you go to the Carolinas, you of course know what you're talking about. I don't, shame on me, but alas, North Topsail Beach. So from my knowledge, I think it's like Myrtle Beach and then some other town and then Topsail and then North Topsail. So North Topsail is a very quiet part of the beach town and there's not a whole lot going on. Anyway, Shane and Marta buy this like $500,000 house that needs a ton of work and they go down over the course of 2 months and they work and they do all this work themselves and they bring their contractor, blah, 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 right? COVID happens. They're down there all the time. And I talked to him a couple months ago and I said, hey, how's it going? And he's like, look, it's a really good investment, but we swallow up all the profit because we go there so much. So when they go there, they stay for free. It doesn't cost them anything, right, but they don't have any profit in the property. And here's what people don't realize about this net worth consideration. You're not actually making the difference of $235,000. It comes to you. So Shane and Marta are down there and they're looking at their next door neighbor's property and they're like, damn, hot tub on the deck, beautiful view. We'd love to have that house one day. And this happens for years and years and years. And then they see their neighbors out on the beach one day, maybe about a month and a half ago or 2 months ago. And Marta says to Shane, hey, go talk to them. And Shane goes over, hey, you know, how's it going, Al? Blah, 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 whatever. Hey, you know, I know we don't get a chance to talk much, but if you ever think about selling this home, we'd love to have the opportunity. And they said, you know what? It's really funny because this is our last trip to the beach. We're actually getting ready to sell it. Wow. And so Shane and Marta opened up the opportunity to have a second investment property in that town that they love so much for themselves, for their family, just because of positioning themselves in the place to do it. Right. It had nothing to do with saving, setting goals or aspirations. It was literally, we bought this property in North Topsail Beach. We made it profitable for us. We made it work for our investment portfolio, for our family, for everything else. And now we've exposed ourselves to other things that could come our way. Whereas someone like me, I've never been to North Topsail Beach. I've never stayed in a house like that. Right. I would never spend, I don't know, I think their house rents for like $4,000 a week, which is not bad, right? But I would never spend that for myself or for my family because I think there's better ways to spend that $4,000 and get a great return. But for them, they position themselves in the right place and they open themselves up to more opportunity. And that is why the difference between renting versus owning is $235,000 in net worth over 5 years. It's not because you actually earn it.
Correct.
It's because you attract it. Weird, backward. Anyway. All right. Well, if you guys have any questions, make sure you reach out. If you don't have an equity review mailer sitting on your island or your countertop, please reach out to us. You always know where you can reach me at Mike Frank. I guess it's Michael Frank ____, right? That's what it's called. Am I crazy?
So.
Yeah, I'm like psychotic today. On Instagram, or you can always reach us at frankoliverco.com. You can always reach out to me directly on my cell phone if you have the number. If you don't, 410-324-6883, and I will talk to you guys real soon. You want to give them how you're going
to... You can just reach me.
Okay.
Him.
Got it. All right, guys. Well, we're so excited. Thank you so much for tuning in. What's up, guys? Thanks for watching. For more information on the housing market, Real Estate 101, how you can leverage your position in today's market, and so much more, click on the link below. If you like this video or have a burning real estate question you'd like us to answer, leave us a comment and let us know. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you again real soon.